Hey everybody, welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I'm Rockin' Robbie Billups, and it's time for the weekly comic book review. That's right everybody, thanks for checking out the video. I am Rockin' Robbie Billups. This is the weekly comic book review. It's the show where I read a lot of comic books, and I'll let you know what I thought about them, and we always start with the pick of the week. This week's pick of the week, Moon Knight #1 for Marvel Comics. I am blown away. I am blown away by this issue of Moon Knight. I have actually feel like I've been a little hard on Marvel lately. I don't feel like I really am excited about a lot of their books anymore. This was very exciting. First of all, it's Moon Knight. Moon Knight's a great character. He's got an upcoming TV show on Disney+, soon to be a fan favorite, I'm sure. Again, right? This captures all these different elements from the different writers over the years who have had their own take on Moon Knight, on Mark Spector, on Stephen Grant, on the Jeff Lockley, on the whole thing, right? The Mr. Knight stuff, the Khonshu stuff, and then the most recent stuff that's happened in the pages of Avengers, where Khonshu kind of like tried to take over the world or something. That all gets referenced here, but what writer Jed MacKay does is write a thrilling and exciting comic book combining all this lore into a new vision and a new direction for the series. I really, really love the setup on this. The artwork is amazing. The artwork is by Alessandro Cappuccio. Fantastic. It's highly energetic. It's vibrant. It just like leaps. He's against the worlds of darkness, for instance. So it's like vampires, zombies, demons, ghouls, things like that. This book was awesome. I freaking loved it. You get classic Moon Knight action, but if you're a fan of that Warren Ellis, Mr. Knight type stuff, it's still in there as well and prevalent, and I loved it. I thought they did a great job of making a new reader-friendly issue as well as an old reader-pleasing issue. I thought this was fantastic, and one of the best new #1s I have read from Marvel since like Donny Cates' Thor #1. This is that level of excitement for me. I'm really excited to see what Jed MacKay and company are going to do. By the way, Raquel Rosenberg, the colorist, the colors pop. There's a lot of intensity in the artwork in this Moon Knight #1, and I absolutely loved it. So Moon Knight #1, pick of the week. There you go. Also from Marvel, we have Extreme Carnage Phage #1. This Extreme Carnage book, it's okay. It's not really like, I mean, it scratches that symbiote itch, but it's not really doing anything super new or exciting. What's most exciting is that they're getting to focus the spotlight onto these different characters, like Phage. That's cool. And we got a Lasher coming up, and we've got the rest of them, right? And what's her name? The purple one. Agony. Anyway, so I like the spotlight on that. Last time we saw these symbiotes, they don't really have like majorly attached human hosts anymore, so it's an interesting little introduction to Phage in here, but this is just kind of following the story from Scream, so it like follows directly from that, and so it is telling one story, but most of the focus is on Phage. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that it was pretty decent. It was okay. It's not like blowing me away, but I thought it was okay. Savage Avengers #22 is here. I'm loving this book. It's Conan in the Marvel Universe. To me, that's like the most obnoxious, most annoying idea, but it works. And I really got to thank the PCP Army for getting me back on board with Savage Avengers. Patch Zurcher's artwork is absolutely fantastic. It's got that flair of old school, but it still feels modern, you know? And what is it? Jerry Duggan's on this book, and he's doing a really solid job. Artwork's cool. In this one, you get a little bit of Ghost Rider action, a team up with Conan, and then it has a really exciting lead, and I liked the hook at the end. I thought it was pretty dope. So there you go. Savage Avengers #22. Miles Morales #28 is here. Miles Morales Spider-Man #28. This is the conclusion of Miles's clone saga, and it was a satisfying conclusion. I liked this arc overall. It's not that this book has direction, but it just, I don't know. There's something about this book that's been wearing thin on me. And it's not the personification or characterization of Miles or anything like that, but it's just like there's not a focus on other things. It seems like it's been going from story to story without any kind of running thread through it, like tying it all together. And I feel like that's something that's been a bit missing in the recent issues of Miles Morales Spider-Man. That being said, 28 had some solid art and was a pretty fine conclusion to that whole Clone Saga story. Marauders number 22 is here. So my interest in most of the X-Men books completely waned during the Hellfire Gala, and realizing that Hickman is now kind of in a backseat showrunner role, and I feel like they're just going to kind of drag on this X-Men stuff as long as they can, keep this whatever. Anyway, so I was excited to check out Marauders. Marauders is a book that I defended a lot, especially in the first year or so of Dawn of X, but I really feel like its direction has kind of gone off the rails. There is still this tying connection of the Hellfire Club and Emma and her plans, but there is no, like, where's the Kate story, right? What Bishop, for instance, in this issue is relegated to just a memo that's written out there, and that's something that's missing in this book, and I think it shines the best when you have that actual Marauders team kind of coming together, doing their thing. Kind of like what I was saying with Miles, there is something that's tying it together, and it's whatever Emma's doing with the Hellfire Club and her plans against Sebastian and all that kind of stuff, but it's starting to feel really dragged out, directionless, and we're losing that team aspect, and it has been lost for me in the last several issues, and that's what I want this book to get back to. So I'm not ready to quit it yet, but y'all, I'm starting to really turn on these X books. Like, I really, really am. I feel like we've been cheated, but whatever. X-Men Legends number 5 is here. If you were a fan of the Peter David run on X Factor in the 90s, the original stuff, I think you'll like this book. I mean, it's just stepping back into it. Todd Knock is doing the artwork, so definitely feels 90s as far as that goes, and Peter David's writing it, and he did a great job writing X Factor back then, and then through, the 2000s or whatever, when they did the X Factor Investigations run. I was never the most into X Factor, so there's a lot of references to things that I just didn't get, but this feels very classic and very old school. It's not very modern. It doesn't feel very fresh, but at the same time, it's nice to kind of jump back in time and read a comic book kind of like from back in the day. Alien number 5 is here, another book that's just wearing thin on me. I guess this doesn't really wrap, I guess it wraps up this story arc, but it sets it up to more to come. I don't know. I think what's holding this book back for me is the artwork. Salvador Larroca's artwork is just a bit too stagnant in this. It doesn't really, the action scenes feel like they're stifled, like they're just held back. It's restrained, right? It just doesn't look or feel dynamic like, say, Moon Knight did. And I'm not saying Alien should be a big action-packed book, but it should be horrifying, and this book it's not a dark book, and like, I don't think Salvador Larroca is very good as a horror artist, and there are moments that are fine, but this just overall, the action scenes, the horror scenes, it's just not working for me. It's not popping for me. It's just something about it feels like there's no movement in the artwork, and that's bothersome to me. The story, it's fine. They're introducing this new alpha xenomorph. I don't know, but honestly, it's just the Alien books, I feel like they're just kind of okay. Yeah, like, they're not really hitting me super hard. Let's jump over to DC. Superman and the Authority, number 1. This is written by Grant Morrison with artwork by Mikkel Hanen and coloring by Jordi Belair. Loved this book. Loved this book. Great layouts, great artwork. You know what you're going to get from Hanen and Belair. Really cool layouts, really bold line work that's very precise, and really interesting ways to tell story. So I really like the artwork, and I also like the story. So rumors are that this was kind of written by Grant back a little bit further as part of the 5G initiative, when the heroes were going to be aged up into their 50s or whatever. And so this is Superman in 1963, basically promising JFK that he will try to fix the world. And then later on in current day, as an older man, as a wiser man, Superman realizes that he can't really do it the way that he wants to do it, because the world, the universe is just not built that way. And so he wants to go out and form a new team, and it will be the Authority. We're promised Midnighter, we're promised Apollo, Natasha Irons, and others. We don't get them in this issue. All you get is a setup. It's the setup of the story of this iteration of Superman. It's best to look at this as part of the infinite frontier, the Omniverse. It's an alternate reality, so it's just on another world, right? But I liked it. I liked it a lot. You don't get any of those characters, but what you do get is you get a nice, really nice conversation from Superman and Manchester Black. The first recruit is Manchester Black. He is a great character that was introduced by Joe Kelly in Action Comics 775. If you've never read that comic, it's one of the best single-issue Superman stories of last... How long ago was that? 20? Can I say 20? I can still say 20, right? 25, let's just be safe about it. But Superman and the Authority, it's a nice reflection on what it means to be Superman, what Superman should mean to the world, and what the Authority means. And it's kind of an interesting statement that Grant is making here. And at the same time, being an exciting Elseworlds kind of superhero story that I liked. Grant knows how to write Superman, and this is going to be Grant's last work at DC for probably a while. So let's see them go out with a bang. Superman and the Authority #1. That's a 4-issue miniseries. Then we got Blue and Gold #1, first part of a new 8-issue miniseries. This is by Dan Jurgens, creator of Booster Gold. This is more of that bromance hijinks from Blue Beetle and Booster Gold. If you're fans of that stuff from the 80s and the 90s, you're going to be a fan of it here. It still works. Dan Jurgens knows these characters. He knows how to make them work. And then you get Ryan Sook on the artwork, which I really, really liked. I thought that was super cool to pull an artist of that caliber on a book like this, because typically you wouldn't. Now, it'd be nice to see Dan Jurgens do it too, but I really like the artwork here. The story's okay. Booster Gold gets a little obnoxious at times. Sometimes Booster has some good character work and sometimes he doesn't, but this is back to that kind of more annoying charm. But there's some nice little bits here about their friendship and how far Blue Beetle in particular will go to look out for his bro. Anyway, Blue and Gold #1. If you're a fan of Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, you'll like that stuff. Shazam #1. This is the first part of a 4-issue miniseries written by Tim Sheridan, I believe is the name, and artwork by Clayton Henry. It's some of my favorite Clayton Henry artwork I've seen from a while. There's something about his figure work that just feels a little wonky to me at times, but there's some really nice moments in here. But anyway, it's a 4-issue Shazam series. It's kind of tied in loosely to Teen Titans Academy because Billy Batson is a student there, but it seems like he's losing his connection to the Rock of Eternity. He can't share his powers with the Marvel family anymore. There's some serious things going on that need his attention, and he's kind of just sulking away. So I actually thought this was okay. It wasn't like super grandiose, and it wasn't really enticing, but it was decent enough, and I actually didn't really have high hopes because I think those recent run by Jeff Johns, Jeff Loveness was fantastic, and this was okay. I think it's subpar to that, but for what it's trying to tell, the story is interesting enough. Shazam's kind of powers getting funky. Where is the Rock of Eternity? That stuff was interesting to me. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, issue #2 of 8 from Tom King, Bill Quiz, Evely, Matthew Lopez. Love the artwork in this book. Rich, textured, detailed, dense, complex. Some real beautiful moments in this book. The problem is, and this is basically True Grit in space with Supergirl. Supergirl has basically promised to avenge the death of this woman's father. And so she's powerless because they were on a red sun planet so she could get drunk on her 21st birthday. And then this villain came and messed her up and then messed up Crypto. And, I just watched John Wick last night for the first time. You don't mess with someone's dog, okay? You just don't. It's a rule. Like, you can't be surprised what's going to happen. However, this issue just kind of spends a lot of time telling a very simple story in an overwrought, overly indulgent kind of way. I feel like the dialogue, or more so actually the narration in this book, kind of really halts a pace, and this could have been done like in a shorter span of time with less, the use of language is fine. We talked a lot about this Saturday or Sunday night on Rock and Robbie Live, but I feel like Tom King is trying to, some of his criticisms have been that he was too sparse of a writer, right? Not a lot of dialogue. I think his dialogue had a lyrical flow to it in some of his earlier work, though, right? Or some of his other work, I should say. But now it feels like he's trying to overcompensate, and he's getting a little overly indulgent now in usage of language, and it's starting to hinder the pace of his books, I think. I think it's starting to happen in Rorschach. I think it's happening a little bit in Strange Adventures, and it's already happening for me in issue 2 of Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Concept I like, artwork I love, but the actual script work is starting to hinder the flow of that book for me. Nightwing #82 is here. This is a big info dump issue. Who is this new mysterious character, Melinda Zuko, who is claiming to be Nightwing's sister? This is a flashback issue that tells the story, but it tells it in a nice, easy breezy type way. Tom Taylor knows how to craft a comic book. He knows how to make it feel exciting and easy to get into, and just a joy to read. So you don't have full-on artwork by Redondo here because you have the backup story. Maybe the backup story is done by Redondo too, but the inking's different or something. Something's different, and it's okay, but it's not as appealing. No, it's Rick Leonardi. They just don't credit him on the cover there. So the artwork changes to tell the flashback story, and it's interesting enough, and it's information we need to know, and it's a nice little chapter in the midst of this soon to be known as a classic run, but it doesn't have quite the style and the panache of the previous issues. This book has been really punchy with its style, and this one kind of hinders that back just a little bit, but for a good reason. It's because they're telling a flashback story, so I don't mind it too much. Catwoman, number 33. Ron V's doing a great job with this book. It's character-oriented and driven. It's centered right in what's going on with Gotham and the Magistrate. And I love what he's doing with the character, but especially this Father Valley character. We now know his origin, and now he makes his full-on move against Selina. He's been hired to assassinate her, and there's some fights in here, and everything's kind of building up to a nice climactic point. Ron V can be a very poetic and nuanced writer, and he's doing that here in Catwoman, but at the same time giving us a little bit more standard superhero heist action type fare in the midst of it. I love it. Catwoman number 33. Fantastic. Justice League number 65 is here. I'm just not liking what Bendis is doing on Justice League. It seems like it's just a dumping ground for all of his ideas that it seems like DC just doesn't want to deal with. That being Checkmate. It feels like Naomi now, and that's a shame, because if they need to do a Naomi season 2, because that book was great. I don't want to see Naomi's story continue and evolve in the pages of Justice League. She deserves to have a sequel to her own book. We need to get that to happen. Aside from that, he's handling Naomi stuff left over from his Superman run with his new villain, right? Like, it's all just stuff that Bendis was trying to build, I think, line-wide to be a big impact, and they were like, we're just going to give you Justice League for like a year, and you can just kind of wrap up and finish up what you wanted to do. Maybe. I just get that gist. And then he'll have the inevitable... Well, first he'll probably go creator-owned for a while, and then there will be an inevitable return to Marvel. Bendis is back, that kind of a thing, right? You think? Maybe. That being said, the backup story by Ron V, fantastic. Loved it. What Ron V can do in 10 pages astounds me, especially compared to what Bendis does in 20. No shade, just saying. Anyway, The Flash number 772 is here. After the events of the Flash annual, we really got a... Is it Jeremy or Jeffrey? It's Jeremy Adams. Jeremy Adams, station. You have managed to follow up a classic run of Joshua Williamson. That was a really great long run. And then we had some, stuff in the middle there, but Adams has come in and, not trying to do what Williamson did with Barry, is basically tasked with the idea of fixing Wally West's, the idea of Wally West to fans, right? And he completely did so. And kind of, he unwrote the idea that Wally West is a murdering psychopath from Heroes in Crisis, right? That was so mishandled. But now, Wally West is the Flash again. So this is the start of like a nice, vibrant, positive, energetic feel for a new Wally West run. It just feels like ever since they brought Barry back in Final Crisis, they didn't know where to put Wally, what to do with him. Well, now Barry's doing all the multiversal stuff, so here we go. Now he's the Flash again, and I'm loving it. I thought it was great setup. Heatwave, a new twist on Heatwave and his life and experience, so that was interesting, but it's so nice to see Wally West not questioning his place in the world, not crying about his lost kids or Linda, but being the Flash and having all of that prevalent there. Wally was my Flash growing up, so it's always makes me happy. Legends of the Dark Knight number 3. I think this wraps up the Derek Robertson story. Maybe there's a new team or something. I should have looked at solicitations, but I didn't. But this wraps up this whole quiz story and just kind of introduces the character and the origin and that kind of thing. And then it abruptly changes in the middle because this was digital first. So this is 2 chapters combined. So it kind of wraps up this Riddler thing and the quiz introduction, and then it just abruptly goes into this other section of the book that was structured very well. They should have just put like chapter 2 or chapter whatever. They should have actually titled it like that so it wouldn't have been so abrupt a change in style. Not talking about the art style, but just the way that the story is structured. That being said, that was my favorite bit, was the last half of this issue. So Legends of the Dark Knight, it's a fine, fun book if you just want classic Batman villains and a classic Batman story. So there you go. Then we got Superman Red and Blue, number 5. This is the best full-on issue of Superman Red and Blue so far. And it may contain my favorite Red and Blue story by Daniel Warren Johnson. Now, Dan Waters and Danny did a hell of a one in the first, second issue. But this one wraps up with a Daniel Warren Johnson story that is fantastic. There's a Judd Winnick, Ibrahim Mustafa story about Superman and Krypto, how they first met. That's just adorable. G. Willow Wilson, Valentine DeLandro, they do a decent story there. Joshua Williamson, Chris Sprouse, they do a really cool story. And then Mark Buckingham, his story just didn't move me. Yeah, the Sprouse and Williamson story is about Jimmy Olsen, and that was really good. And the Wilson story, I had to look at it and remind myself, is about how Clark Kent can de-escalate a situation and not necessarily need Superman. So that was really cool. So Superman Red and Blue number 5 was the best issue of that series yet. Let's jump over to Image Comics, where we have Mom, Mother of Madness number 1 from Amelia Clark and Marguerite Bennett and Laila Lees. This, of course, was created and the ideas from Amelia Clark, who, of course, played Daenerys Targaryen. She was in the Solo movies. She was Sarah Connor or something like that, I think, in one of those Terminator movies that I never watched. Mother of Madness, it's got some hype behind it. It's a really cool cover. It's a nice package, $5.99, super thick, lots of material in here. I did not like this book. I did not like this book at all. It felt so directionless. It just felt like a lot of ideas, but it never came together. There was no focus in this book. It felt all over the place. It was a drag to read. It took forever. It was not a thrilling, fun experience. I'll be honest with you. I just did not like this book. I know there's a lot of hype. I'm very interested in what you thought when you read this. Let us know in the comments down below. But this one just did not do it for me. I didn't get a nugget of a story in it, and it just felt all over the place and incredibly unfocused. But that's a really dope cover. Also from Image, we have Syphon number 1. This is a new one from Top Cow. It's about this dude who has the powers to feel people's emotions and siphon off the negative ones. Like if someone's feeling sad, or if someone's, he's more than just empathic. He can literally pull their energy in and I guess get charged by it or something. There's not a lot of story that's told in here. It's just the basic setup. He kind of gets these powers, he's using them, and then there's a gear shift at the end. This is a power set that's been passed on from person to person or something like that, and to every generation is born a Siphonator. But I actually liked it. I thought it was fine. The artwork was amazing, the coloring especially. So it's written by Patrick Meany and Mohsen Ashraf, with artwork by Jeff Edwards, colors by John Calise. Yo, the artwork is great. The coloring is great. It does like the basic stuff, setting things up. It's not like, I don't know. I'm not saying that this book was like super crazy awesome, like 5 Diggs level or nothing, but it was rather fun. It was enjoyable. It had good artwork, and I'm very intrigued to see where the story goes, because there's some questions, there's some things I would like to see explained, and that's interesting. That means that it was enticing to me. So Syphon number 1, I really like that one. Homesick Pilots number 7, yo. So in issue number 6, I was like, whoa guys, a complete new direction for this series, which is basically about weaponized ghost technology, a haunted house that when possessed by a live person, the ghosts can be controlled in some kind of way and make the house like a giant walking monster, okay? Like a kaiju, like a Power Ranger, like a Voltron. You get what I'm going with this, right? And it has this different take in the last issue, like the government's getting involved, weaponized ghost technology, totally wild. And then these 2 punk bands are in the midst of it. And then in issue 7, it brings it back to where we were in this new vision flawlessly. I loved it. This is written by Dan Waters with artwork by Casper Wingard. This book is fantastic. It's never let up, and it's continuously surprised me issue to issue. You can't nail it down. You can't quite get it, but it just keeps surprising you in very fun, truly human ways. I love it. Homesick Pilots number 7, a book about regret and punk rock, and ghosts that get up on haunted houses, that get up and walk around and stomp on things. It's dope. Ascender number 17 is here. This is the penultimate issue of Ascender. There's only one left, and now we really are gearing up. Like, this was a crazy issue. Lots of stuff going on, lots of action, lots of culminating things all hitting a point, and that point was well paid off. Let me just say that. I'm loving Ascender and Descender that came before. Jeff Lemire, Dustin Nguyen, The artwork is amazing. It's beautiful. It's a powerful story. It's a really great continuation and with a completely different vibe. The artwork is great. It's got this ethereal quality to it. It gets to the end and you're just like, and then it's like to be concluded and you're like, oh yeah, it's only 18. Stinks. But I'm very excited to see how it's all going to wrap up. Speaking of wrapping up, Shadecraft wraps up its first arc here in issue number 5. Now it's going to go on hiatus, but it will be coming back. Shadecraft number 5 does a really great job of wrapping up this series. It starts off, this whole arc started off about a woman who realizes she has the powers to manipulate shadow, right? And she can cause like shadow to come out and get concrete and do things with it, right? And so it's really interesting, and it's tied into this relationship she has with her brother who's in a coma, 2 words, and she can pull his shadow self out or something like that, right? And then all of a sudden you find out that the whole family's kind of involved in it. There's this agency, there's this person against them, and it really gear shifted in issue number 4, and it really paid it off in issue 5. This was a really great finale to the first arc. A complete story being told here, but a lot of setup for what's to come. It's going on hiatus for a little bit, but Shadecraft promises that it will be back. And when you return, Shadecraft, Rockin' Robbie will be here. Radiant Black is here with issue number 6. I didn't like this one. A different artist, a different story. I was so confused. I honestly, like, as I was reading this book, I was like, I really feel like Image goofed, and this is a different comic book, and they got the wrong cover on it. Like, I was so lost, so confused. Then all of a sudden you realize what they're doing. I'm like, okay, clever. I get it. But I still didn't care. Even when I saw how, oh yes, this is the next issue of Radiant Black, nothing about it made me care. Radiant Black is a book that I like, then I don't. Then I like, then I don't. Then I like, then I don't, then I don't. That's inconsistency. So maybe 1, 2 more issues, but I don't know. This book's been very inconsistent for me. Speaking of inconsistency, time before time, I think I have an inconsistency because I was so freaking lost in this story. I remember really liking issue 1 and really liking issue number 2. I read issue 3. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Now, maybe because I've read so much, my retention on this book in particular was gone, but nothing in the book brought me up to speed. Now, obviously, Image Comics especially, they write a lot for the trade, but sometimes you get a little bit of clued in to what's going on. And I remember everything about the Syndicate and the time, and they got these 200 years or whatever it is, and yeah, I was just like, who's this person? Why are they doing this? Where am I? What's going on? I felt so lost. I felt like I'd just been dumped in time. Let me know if you read this book, if I just am not remembering. Maybe I need to reread 1 and 2, but that was just, Undiscovered Country number 14. Didn't really like this issue. It was okay. What I like about Undiscovered Country by Scott Snyder and Charles Soule, I think it's Gypsy Kamenkoli. What I like about this book is the concepts, the idea. It's kind of got this Wizard of Oz, Chronicles of Narnia, a take on a futuristic version of America that's been walled off for America's time, years, decades, hundreds of years, whatever, right? And everything's different. There's a different land. Now they're in the land of opportunity. So each land reflects a different aspect of the American idea, right? Like the first one was, what was the first one? Destiny, right? So the first one was about exploration and expansion. And then the second one is unity, and it's about bringing people together through technology. And now we're in opportunity, right? And this is about stories. And so there's this cool idea about superheroes and how they're so ingrained into American mythology. Like they are such an American kind of thing, like the superhero comic. And I appreciate that, but it was an okay issue. It was an okay issue. It's the concepts I like in this book. It's not necessarily ever the execution, and it's never the character work. I am purely 14 issues in, driven in just by the idea of the concept, because I want to know what the next land is. I'm a sucker for it. I think it's awesome. Skybound Number X is here with issue number 3. Loved this issue. First of all, this is Rick Grimes' 2000 story. I've explained it before. In the original days when Robert Kirkman was pitching Walking Dead, they were like, yeah, black and white zombies, nobody's going to buy that. And then he had to lie, and he was like, oh, it's going to be aliens, actually. So this is the story of what if it did, and with this big alien, crazy, extreme, 90s image type thing, and it's so much fun. It's just ridiculous, and the artwork by Ryan Ottley is popping. There's also a Murder Falcon story in here that's really dope by Daniel Warren Johnson, worth the price of admission. There is an assassination story by Kyle Starks and Erica Henderson, and I loved Assassination, so that was cool to see that, and that promises to set up another arc. And then there's Science Dog Chapter 2. I'm not familiar. I don't even remember reading the first bit of that, so I just kind of skimmed through that one. But that's been a real fun anthology. Then moving over to Boom, we got Dark Blood number 1. This is a brand new one. I think it's a 4 or 5, 6 issue miniseries. It says it. Don't you appreciate it when it clearly lets you know that it's a miniseries and how long you're invested into? This book was executed very well. It's about this dude. He's in Alabama in 1955. I think it's Alabama. I bet. Is it Alabama? Of course it's Alabama. It's Alabama. It's Alabama. So he's a black dude in Alabama in 1955. He comes up against this like super racist guy, and all of a sudden you realize this guy's got powers. And it flashes back to him in like World War II or something. So it doesn't really get a lot revealed here, okay? But the execution, the setup, the pacing, the artwork, everything about it flowed really nicely. Felt very cohesive and very focused. It just ended before I got enough information to know if I really wanted to invest myself into this. But looking at the craft behind this first issue, it may not have had a super great punch and hook, but the craft was there to make me want to come back for issue number 2. So Dark Blood number 1 was cool. Where's this story going? No clue. No clue. Very little information. But the execution was very, very well done. Many Deaths of Laila Starr number 4. I know, it didn't make the pick of the week, but just barely. This book was awesome. Ram V, Felipe Andrade, loving this book. Just loving this book. A beautiful story about death. Literally, it's about death. So it's about the god of death who gets fired from her job, sent down to live in a mortal body. In the first issue, she dies. She comes back to life. She gets fired because there's this person born on Earth that will one day bring immortality to humanity. And in each subsequent issue, she has met this individual at a different point in his life after a loss. And so the book has been an exploration on death through the eyes of death, and sometimes narrated by a cigarette. In this one, she meets the dude a little bit older, and they have a conversation, and it was really powerful. And the most powerful bit, though, in here, after you read it, to me, is the temple. The temple bit was the most, like, the way that was juxtapositioned against the other story, and how this entire thing has been this whimsical, light at times, exploration on death through the eyes of death. And through the eyes of just a normal human. This book astounds me. It's amazing. It's one of the best books of the year, straight up. But just the idea that Marvel had a number 1 that super excited me, that made me excited for Moon Knight. But Many Deaths of Laila Starr number 4, that's your just under pick of the week. Number 2 right there. Proctor Valley Road. Number 5, this is the final issue. It's a decent wrap-up. The story never quite grabbed me the way I expected a Grant Morrison pen story to, but it is co-written with Alex Child. The artwork by Naomi Franquiz has been fantastic throughout. The characters are cool, and I like the ending. I thought it was a good setup. I'm ready to sit down and reread it. It just didn't quite get as out there as I expect a lot of Grant's work to do, but this one is definitely more geared to being adapted. And I think they already are adapting Proctor Valley Road into a TV show or something like that. It would be like almost like a Stranger Things set in the 70s, involving a group of young women. So, and it was cool. But it has its own identity outside of that, okay? Like completely different thing, more supernatural, and less science-based. But Proctor Valley Road number 5 was decent. It was a decent, solid conclusion to an okay story. Power Rangers is here with issue number 9. We were shorted our main cover, so I got this legacy variant. There are times where I feel like Power Rangers is maybe like extending this stuff out a little bit too long. And then there are stories like this where I'm like, you know what? I really don't mind that, because it reminds me of older comics that would just kind of, like a Chris Claremont in the 80s or John, these stories, they would tell stories, but they would also just be in the midst of this ongoing thing that never seemed to end. And that's That's kind of enticing, and that's why I say that these are some of the best old school superhero written comics right now are the Power Ranger books. That being said, I'm liking the work that's being done here in this particular issue with Trini, Zach, and Jason. Fan-frickin-tastic. So, Power Rangers number 9, I did. I really like that one. From Vault Comics, we only got one this week, but it's a big one. It's Wasted Space, number 22. Y'all, we only have 3 more issues of Wasted Space, and it's gearing up. Michael Morisi's doing a great job on this book that's basically Preacher meets Star Wars, and we are gearing up and heading to that conclusion. All the pieces are being set into place. Things are still being said. Philosophical ideas are still being discussed and brought about by Michael Morisi. Hayden Sherman, they are absolutely just pushing it further and further, completely evolving their style, doing something incredibly interesting with the composition. Like, the way that you, like, when I was reading this page, this is at a dance club, because of all these little colored bits of people dancing, I could hear doing great stuff with unconventional composition for a comic book page, making it work, making it pop, making it feel classic, innovative, crushing that this book is ending, because this book deserves to go 239 issues. Exactly, 239. Why? Because it's the number that popped in my head. Anyway, Wasted Space number 22. Fan-frickin-tastic. One of my favorite books. I love it. Then we got Black Hammer Reborn number 2. I missed out on number 1 last month because Diamond shorted us, but I did read it, and now I've read Black Hammer Reborn number 2, and I'm loving it. You know, if you read Black Hammer, you're going to want to read this. So at the end of Black Hammer, we got a new Black Hammer, and now the story is in more modern day. She's a little bit older. She's given up being Black Hammer. This is the original Black Hammer's daughter, the one that saved all the people in the first Black Hammer book. So you're getting stories from her time as Black Hammer in the 90s. And you're getting this more modern story of her and her family. And it works so well together. Jeff Lemire's able to do slice of life and crazy superhero sci-fi type stuff and make it feel like it belongs together. Caitlin Yarsky on the penciling, wow, I do miss Dean Ormston, but I love the artwork here. It's cleaner, it's more refine's probably not the right word, because I don't want to throw shade on Dean, because I love what he was doing on that book. It was fantastic, but this is a different style that I think is more appealing to more people. And if you've never read Black Hammer, you can jump on now. You can jump on with Black Hammer Reborn number 1 and 2, and they'll just let you know what happened, and it's unnecessary because they're telling a really good story about the new Black Hammer as Black Hammer, and then after she retires, and her family. Really good stuff. Then I got a piece of paper I wrote that says Beckstar number 3, because our shop shorted us Beckstar number 3. Luckily, I was able to read it. Beckstar number 3 by Joe Corallo is absolutely amazing. It's from Mad Cave Studios. Now that all the pieces are set, we get the idea, the lore, the characters, the quest. This is a big action-heavy issue that was very fun to read. The artwork was vibrant, especially with the coloring. There's some really great bits there where the artist is doing a little bit of a different kind of thing to make the artwork look different. There's one moment in particular where they're like going up a ladder that I remember. Visually, a really great book, and story-wise, just so much fun. This feels like what the end of an Act 2 of a Star Wars movie should be. And so that's major praise. Nottingham is here with issue number 5, the final issue for now, because you can't have a big success and not have it come back. But Nottingham's been a darker, more crime-oriented take on the Robin Hood story. Robin Hood and the Merry Men are painted more as villains, and the Sheriff of Nottingham is painted more as... hero's the wrong word, maybe an anti-hero, but I like it. I like the ending. I thought it was fine. They left it open to come back. That was interesting. I don't know. I wonder if that was the original intent to keep this going on, or if the success, and then I think it's been optioned for something. But a satisfying conclusion. It's an interesting take on Robin Hood. We've seen the Robin Hood story done to death. We've never seen it done this way. And I like the artwork. There's this weird quirkiness to it, but I really like it. There's something about it that's off, but appealing. Nottingham number 5, super solid, super solid. Then we got Bermuda number 1. This is from John Layman and Nick Bradshaw. Jay Strick, from IDW Comics. This book's all right. So it's about these 2 kids that are on a plane. They're going to Bermuda. They go through a portal and they wind up in this other world. And they meet this woman named Bermuda. Or actually, it's just the one kid. Can't find a sister. The artwork is amazing. Nick Bradshaw's kind of like an Art Adams incarnate, and Art Adams even does one of the variants. The detail is complex and everything. The story is simple enough. He just basically gets there. You get to see these monsters, and they get introduced to the idea. There's this cool map. It's a fun, solid book. I actually liked it. It didn't completely blow me away. It didn't feel like it was doing anything new, but I just loved looking at all of the detail that Bradshaw was putting into every single page, and the way that he's drawing these like lizard creatures is amazing. And then one of my favorite things about the whole book, I spent more time at the end, because at the end they show all the covers in black and white and then colored without the trade dress, including that Art Adams one. Where is that one? Yeah. I would just kept looking at these pages over and over and over again. So this was pretty solid. $4.99? That's that's asking a little bit much, IDW. I will say that. Speaking of IDW, we got Transformers, My Little Pony, The Magic of Cybertron, number 4. This is the final issue 4 now, because you can't have success and not just keep going. This was cool. I liked it. This has been fun. Like I've said it before, I'll say it again. You're not going to get anything new and nuanced out of this My Little Pony Transformers thing. But each issue is doing this. It's delivering a fun story for all ages, and it never betrays the characters or the lore of what they're pulling from. And that's amazing to me. My Little Pony Transformers, The Magic of Cybertron. Number 5. Number 4. Then we got Deja Thoris versus John Carter of Mars, number 1 from Dynamite. I haven't read a Deja Thoris or Warlord of Mars comics in years. I fell off a while ago, and this was a new number 1, a new exciting time to let's see if I can jump in. I felt way lost, but the story did a great job of kind of catching me up. So Deja Thoris is kind of like even more badass than the last time I saw her. I grew up reading those books, and I really, really liked them. So I liked the concept of John Carter, and I read the Dynamite stuff when it first started. But now it seems like John Carter was away for a while, and then he came back and was controlled. I don't know. There's some backstory there that actually got me excited. I was like, maybe I should go get some Deja Thoris back issues. This was an all right comic. I actually appreciated it. I thought the artwork was pretty solid. Dan Abnett does a good job with the story. Some really cool monsters, some imaginative ideas. Cheesecake covers, but the interior artwork doesn't really get into that, so you kind of get the best of both worlds right there. So Deja Thoris versus John Carter of Mars, that was pretty decent. I liked it. I may try to stick with it and see how long I can hold on. Second Coming, Only Begotten Son, number 3. Second Coming? Brooks just asked me last week, yo, where's Second Coming? I'm like, I don't know. Second Coming is back with issue number 3. Mark Russell telling a story of a God who's so disappointed in Jesus that he sends Jesus to Earth to learn from Omni-Man, or whatever his name is. Omni-Man? Is that from Invincible? That's from Invincible. I don't remember this guy's name. Anyway, he's a Superman kind of guy. That was the whole first arc. Now we're in the second arc. Well, Mark Russell is able to tell a story that is satirical, that is poking fun at certain things, including... it's poking... Okay, you could say it's poking fun at Christianity, but it's not, because the nature of Christ, the character of Christ, of Jesus in this book, is so on point with the message of Christ. But then you have that flip side of like false Christianity and the big churches just making lots of money and things like that. We're not talking about like... I'm not, where am I going with this? I'm trying to say that this book really talks... I don't think this book betrays Christianity, nor do I think it makes fun of it. Every time I mention this book, it seems like somebody makes a comment, and that's fine. You can take the book however you want. But for me, and I was raised in the Baptist church, I was joining into seminary. I've studied the Bible. I was going to be a preacher. This is on point with the message of Christ, and this book has a heart to it. And at the same time, it's poking fun at the organizations behind some of these religions that are just set up to make money or to control people. And I think that is an incredibly well done job by Mark Russell and Richard Pace and company. I love this book. I think it's amazing. So there you go. The Gods of Brutality, number 1 from... that was a difficult review to get out for some reason. Gods of Brutality, number 1 from Black Caravan, Scout Comics. This was an interesting concept of an idea. So it's about this musician who dies. He goes to hell. And when he's in hell, about to get tortured for the first time, he just prays to whatever god he can think of, including Zeus and Odin. And Zeus and Odin happen to hear the prayer, and it's like, oh, it's nice someone's calling for us. So they send Hercules and Thor into hell to save this dude, this rock star, this metal guy, from hell. That's what this book is. It's wild, it's dumb, it's fun, it's rambunctious. I told you everything you need to know. If that sounds like a book for you, it's a book for you. The Lunar Ladies is out from Scout. I like that. Lunar Ladies didn't do much for me. It kind of had this classic sci-fi vibe. It's about these people years and years and years ago. They're living in a hollow moon. They have a society. The queen escapes to Earth. There's primitive man there. And then there's this different faction fighting each other. But it just never really kind of felt... It never pulled me in. I never really got a clear, distinct idea or vision out of the book, and it just kind of meandered around and never really kind of came together as a unit for me. So Lunar Ladies was just, it was just okay. And then Stake number 5 is the final issue. For now, yeah, you knew it was coming, but Stake has been a really fun book about a vampire and a human that are part of an organization that hunt vampires. So this whole mystery comes to a head and a conclusion in this issue, but it will be back, in fact, in August. This book keeps going. Maybe it's only 6, but I thought it was going to wrap up here, but it definitely is setting up more. This book has been great. I love the artwork. They have really interesting use of color in this book. If you haven't been reading it, you should check it out. If you like vampire stuff, there's tons of nods to like Dracula and Lost Boys and Near Dark and Buffy, all kinds of vampire stuff. So you can tell that the creators are fans of the genre, of the subgenre. But Stake number 5 was an exciting enough conclusion, or maybe not a conclusion, maybe, I don't know. It was a really solid issue. I liked it. Kind of wrapped this case up, had something left open that we can dive into. Anyway, that's what I read. That's what I thought. What are you reading? What are you digging? Let us know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Yeah, like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to check out popculturephilosophers.com for podcasts, vlogs, and more stuff like that. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. Thanks for rocking with us. Keep on reading. Station.